I'm Orville Mosby, and today I would like to read a poem about my father-in-law, John Fidalgo. This was written by one of the men that worked for him. He was the supervisor for the carpenters and masons and a bunch of others. And it goes like this. The man. Around the turn of the century in the family of Fidalgos, a son was born. His name was Aureliano. After 19 years in his home country, he decided to head for the USA on a boat for a long, long ride. He worked in the fields for his first start, and with a chance at Shell from his other job, did part. About the year 1923, John started at Shell, most of it good, some of it hell. His first name was hard for the guys to say, so they called him Johnny to this very day. During the years he worked up through the ranks, he drew pictures of ships on the side of tanks. As he used that pencil on tank or wall, he taught himself to draw prints equal to them all. After a number of years as a carpenter, they made him a foreman without so much as a hint. He had ideas about what a foreman should do. He convinced them that he could do the work of two. So with one pickup truck and a 20-man crew, it was seldom if ever he got himself in a stew. After several years, as a one-man rule, they gave him an assistant, which was long overdue. He was constantly figuring on ways to improve the methods of doing a job and still keep it true. He has an eye like an eagle. You can bet your last dollar. He came up with a design on a ladder for Shell, and each time we put it together, you can hear us yell. The wing nuts are missing, or maybe a shoe, but when it's all put together, it will do. We've had our petty differences during the years, but to a man, we each would give John a cheer. We wish for your future only the best, and a long, pleasant retirement, and a well-deserved rest. Dunk.
Wow, that is wonderful. Thank you. And do you think any of these prints still exist of the pictures that he drew on the tank? Anywhere?
I have no idea. He never shared those things with me. He said that when he first started, he was assigned to dig out a side of a hill. And
what year that was, by any chance?
1923.
1923, okay.
He retired in 1965. 42 years. And when he dug out this side of the hill, he had it so manicured and smooth that when the foreman come back, he was very impressed. And that was one thing he felt that really got him in with the foreman to keep him working. Because men were coming and going. If you didn't perform like they wanted you to, you were gone.
So dig out the side of a hill, so sort of like the 100 feet of space?
I have no idea. It may have been 20 or 30 feet. It just, you know, it apparently was done in 4 hours or so.
Get rid of the weeds or something, so that won't, okay.
Yeah, I imagine it was a morning project, and by the time the man came back to pick him up for lunch, it was done. So he was a very a man of great talents, and able to do drafting and designing, and the engineers were right in there with him because they felt he was to some extent their equal, although he'd never had that training.
And well loved too.
Oh yes.
By this home.
Right. Very well looked up to.
Yes.
He retired July 31st, and I went to work August 2nd. Here, he was dying of cancer, wasn't able to work anymore, and the company would not allow other family members to work at the same time. So they that's how he retired a few months earlier than he'd planned on, so I could go to work because I'd come back from serving in the Army.
I see. And so you're retired now, and what did you do here?
I worked for 11 years in operations in LOP, and then I went to work in the instrument shop for another 20 years.
And you liked it? You liked it as much as your dad? Sorry.
I liked it because I had time to do things that I enjoyed doing. I'd go out and get my work done, and I'd come back and I'd reorganize the shop shelves and do a lot of the ordering that the foreman used to do.
You were not idle.
No.
You were not idle. That's a very nice trait, especially for an employee.
Yeah. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
I'm Bob Lytle, known in the early days as Big Red, but I worked for Shell for almost 35 years. Started out in the labor gang. Like the lady said, I come to work here because a friend of mine decided not to come back. So I decided to come put an application in, and I guess they were desperate and hired me on the spot. so I worked in a labor gang for about 4 years, I guess. And then went to Bleacher House, worked there for a couple of years, and then went, the wife didn't really want me going on shift work, but I went on shift work and worked for, well, the rest of my career off and on shift work. Then when LOP started up, I went to what we called LOP University and learned how to operate the light oil processing unit out there off of Pacheco Boulevard.
Is that sort of on-the-job training?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Actually, it was dedicated training for, I forget now, a couple months. So, yeah.
So your nickname was Big Red. It's funny because I think a lot of the Shell employees were given nicknames. There's
Yeah.
Asphalt Fats. And,
Yeah.
Big Red.
A lot of people had nicknames.
It's a nice feeling among the workers.
Yeah, I was pretty much a redhead at that time. So,
And when you say you were on the labor team or
labor gang, we call it.
What
Yeah.
like digging or what did you do?
Digging, it was really a labor pool where if a plant need vacation relief, they put it up and then we would bid on it. Or we'd work with jackhammers, digging holes. I worked on a railroad a lot, replacing the ties and the rails.
Down here in Martinez? Or?
No, right here in the refinery.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. And you live in Martinez currently? Or?
Yes, yes. We've lived in Martinez. We moved here in '67. So, been in the same place ever since.
Nice town, huh?
Yes, Martinez is very nice.
I know.
I really enjoy it,
Yes.
and it's close to work too.
Yeah.
I'm about 5 miles from work, so
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah. When we had when the CFH had their first big explosion, it was an aerial that ignited up in the air, and the blast damaged a lot of. Well, it knocked the windows out of the control room. The old control room. It was an airport style with the windows were slanted in. That if there was ever an explosion, they were to fall out. And nobody got hurt in the control room, but it did a lot of damage around the refinery.
When you say CFH, what does that mean?
Cat feed hydrotreater.
Okay.
Yeah, it was one of the plants on the north side, we called it, with a cat cracker in that area.
Wow, so nobody was hurt. Shell's got a pretty good safety record.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, in all those years, I think we only lost 2 or maybe 3 guys just out of freak accidents.
Right.
Most of them. Yeah.
Okay. You done?
I think that's
All right.
about it. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. My name is Johnny Chapman. I came to work for Shell in 1982 as part of the OpSyn project. And I was one of the original guys that helped actually port the hog. That is for members that actually know that started up OpSyn, and Jerry Shuett, you know what I'm talking about. So I had various jobs. I moved from OpSyn to a couple other places, clean fuels, logistics. Had a great time in all those places, and it was wonderful. I met a lot of people and did a lot of different things and had a great career at Shell doing a lot of different things. And that's it. Okay.
Tell me, for the layperson, what is OpSyn, or what was your job? What did it entail?
So Operation Central entailed, in this particular case, the Flexicoker. Okay, so the Flexicoker took a real low-grade, heavy crude and converted it into usable products, from gasoline to gas oils to diesels. It fractionated, but it also had the residual things, which was called coke, and that was moved out in different ways. So that was the big thing with using a heavier crude and getting the yields out of those crudes.
We're hearing a lot about how Shell employees really sort of helped each other out. You could always sort of rely on somebody else to...
Yeah, it was always a team effort or a family effort. A lot of times if a team member had something to do, like move or something, then the team got together and on their off days they helped the person move. It was just a natural thing. You didn't need people come in and handle your furniture, do your stuff. It was just a team effort that was really done. And with doing anything, it was always a team effort. The groups would get together, you'd work rotating shift. Sometimes after a swing shift, you'd get out and go have drinks or go do something, especially on the last one. I know that we would just, you work a 7-day work week, you work 7, that last one you'd get off and go do something that was like, that the team just wanted to do. A lot of times it was just to go over and maybe have burgers and beers, but it was really a family, team-oriented type of thing that guys would do.
Did you guys go to any places in downtown Martinez, or just most somebody's house?
Martinez sometimes. Red Robin was another place over in, I guess, was it Concord, over in the mall? Okay. So we'd go there and we'd find different places. Sometimes you ended up at the bowling alley, so you'd sit there and bowl and drink. You'd just have a good time after work, which was really cool. Okay, and for all of you guys, remember that the Shell Credit Union is across the street and that you are preferred members, so come over and join and see some of the things that we have that will help you out financially. You're more than welcome.
My name is Jim Nicolola. I'm an electrical inspector here at Shell. I've been an electrician here for 5 years and an electrical inspector for the last 1. I work in logistics and utilities department.
How did you start working at Shell?
Right after high school, I was in the Navy for 6 years. I was a nuclear electrician. Went to school for 2 years in South Carolina and then was stationed in Washington State. And my ship used to go down to Coronado all the time and fell in love with California and decided to move out here after work, and met some friends that referenced me to this job and got hired on.
Do you live in Martinez now?
I do. I live a couple blocks down the road. Bought a house out there.
And what state were you in before that you fell in love with?
I grew up in New York, in Queens. And then I lived in South Carolina and then Washington State, drove all over. And yeah.
So you already really had a fair amount of training to do the job that you're doing.
Oh yeah.
So you didn't
Yeah,
need to go to the school, that sometimes some folks go to the junior college there too.
Mm-hmm. The P-Tech, I never went to the P-Tech class, but yeah, the Navy trains us. They give us all the school and hands-on experience.
And safety seems to be something that Shell really focuses on.
Yeah, safety factors into all of our jobs. One of the things I do is planning outages and writing procedures for how to keep people safe that are working on with the tools.
You like this job?
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh. Good. All right. Anything else you want to add?
I think that's it.
Okay.
Cool.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Russ Hawkins. I'm in the electrical engineering department for Oil Martinez. Came in 1990 as an electrician in the maintenance department. I intended to work 6 months here and move on. Did not want to be in the oil industry because I'd worked for Westinghouse Marine Division as a machine tool repairs, and the machine tools were very oily devices and I hated it. The neat thing about Martinez and Shell is if we see oil, there's a problem. It's not something we encounter in our daily lives. The safety culture here kept me here. We were always getting hurt when I was at Westinghouse, and the real focus on safety here has been a godsend. I intended to work 6 months and move on. It's been 25 years now. In fact, just got my 25-year ring for Shell. Shell has trained me in communications and such to speak better to people at work, as I stammer here, to communicate better with my wife and family and people in day-to-day lives. They've paid me to play golf at times when my game was better, paid me to play drums for them, and boy, there's just no way I would leave. They've been very, very good to me. The refinery is very safe. It's as clean as I've ever seen. I've been to multiple refineries in the U.S. as part of my experience, and it's a very good family here. The volunteer projects, helping the community has been a great thing as well. After floods and major rains one year, helping with the sandbags downtown Martinez to save the businesses from being flooded. Constructing homes for Habitat for Humanity, helping seniors with the food deliveries, just so many things. The Challenged Children's Fishing Derby in Antioch area is just very gratifying that Shell lets us help people in this way. And here at the clubhouse, the memories my kids who are now adults have of coming here for Easter and Christmas and the breakfast that the alumni and the Employees Association puts on, it's just been a fabulous experience. As the Garrett Morris, I think it was on Saturday Night Live, used to say, baseball been very, very good to me. Shell has been very, very good for me, and been glad to work here.
When you say that they paid you to play drums, are you in a band?
Yes, ma'am.
Entertained?
I've been in many bands over the course of my life. I don't play as much as I used to, but they used to do appreciation concerts for us called Shellapalooza with major name acts. And we had Battle of the Bands of employee bands, and the winning band got to open for Tower of Power and 38 Special. And then a few years later it happened again, and I happened to be in the band that won again. And we opened for Chris Isaac and the Temptations. And currently I'm rehearsing on Tuesday and Thursday nights here in the clubhouse for an event for our plant manager, Paul Gabbard, for all of the managers of the plant managers of the Americas. And he has asked me to put together a band of employees, and we're currently working on material for that.
So you don't have a name for the band because it's different people.
The band name is Shell Shock.
That's perfect.
The first band with Tower of Power and 38 Special was also Shell Shock. And then we regrouped for the second time, changed some members, and we call ourselves Aftershock. But now we're back mostly in original form with some new members as well due to retirements. And we're calling ourselves Shell Shock again.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's been a very good experience.
Do you think your kids might be interested in being Shell employees at all?
My older two daughters, I don't think so. The middle one, if a media type position opened up, certainly. My youngest is about to graduate in aerospace engineering. Who knows? it could take a turn where she would want to work in chemistry here or something, so engineering of some sort. And she was a recipient of one of the alumni scholarships. Yeah, so Shell, like I said, has been very, very good to us.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, my name is Jim Purdy. I've worked for Shell for 30 years. I started in 1973, and I was a welder at the beginning. And I was a welder, and I had to develop a lump in the cancer when I was here for 6 months. And I had my operation. I came back. I didn't think I had a job, and Shell gave me it. And Shell took care of me for 30 years. I worked with a welder for almost 15 years, and I went to foreman doing turnarounds. And I joined the SAA, and we did Santa Claus. I'd done Santa Claus for so many years. I did the bunny for so many years, and I enjoyed it. It was one of the best places I have ever worked, and they took care of us, and I'm still taking care of me to this day.
So you had so many little kids sit on your lap and...
Oh, I had, sometimes I had sore knees, and I did the bunny hop. The bunny I loved to do, because I went out in the yards and hopped around with the kids and looking for the eggs and everything. So, and I joined the alumni here, and then we have the picnic here, and I work with the kids here. We have games we play, so we have a lot of fun.
That still goes on, the alumni association?
Alumni still goes on, and it's one of the best organizations there is here too.
Wonderful. And there was quite a, well, I guess the volunteer thing, Shell has done many wonderful things for the community. And not just the Shell family of employees, but just out and about, painted the Veterans Hall and did many things.
Oh, yeah, we do. There's actually like alumni goes down to the gas stations and work on there, and they do project work here. And then we put canned goods on Christmas time. We have it for the charity. So, I don't know what else to say.
It's been a good time for you.
It's been a great time. I couldn't ask for anything better.
I'm so glad.
And they took care of me, and I took care of Shell.
I bet you're featured in many Christmas party photos. Christmas
Oh,
party
I
and Easter
don't think they know me.
Well,
They don't see my face, but they know me. I've been doing it for quite a few years, and I finally retired and let somebody else take over for me. So.
You did it 27 years.
The bunny or the
Yeah, I had fun. It was the greatest thing in the world. Okay? It was the greatest thing to have fun with the kids. You'd be surprised what they do, and what they say, what they want. Wants a new car, and they're only 7 years old. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Linda Thurman. My husband and I have lived in Martinez for 45 years. It's a fabulous, fabulous community, and I had the good fortune of becoming the occupational nurse at Shell for 17 years. And one of the things I was asked to do was tell some stories. Well, with HIPAA, I can't tell you any of them. But there would be a lot of them. I do remember one time we had a minor spill, and John Ryan called me and said that somebody had been bitten by a duck, and I had to call the wildlife game committee and the public health department to see if there was any concern about a duck bite. There wasn't. The proudest thing I did at Shell, I think, was to put together a tiger team, an emergency response team with the blessing of management. And I got paramedics and EMTs, on all the shifts to become part of this Tiger team, so that if we had an emergency, medical emergency, not occupationally as well as just ordinary common illnesses or injuries that occur to people, or people who come in on Monday after doing something dumb at home on Sunday. And so I had this team put together, and I was really, really proud when I retired. They gave me a plaque, and it was addressed to Mom. And to this day, if I'm out walking around, I'll hear somebody yell, "Hey, Mom!" And they'll come up and give me a kiss, and Herb would look at me and say, "Shell?" "Yes." So it was to me, it was a wonderful experience with an absolutely fabulous family. It was an honor to work here.
Who named it the Tiger Team?
The groups, means Trauma Intervention Group or Emergency Response. Shell has Aux Crew, they had the Sharks, they had nicknames for all of the various response
Rats.
groups. Yeah. And so they came up with Tiger Team. In fact, one of the things I'm going to do is we all had mugs, and I'm going to donate my mug to the museum next week. So it was a real pleasure. That's it.
Thanks so much.
Hello, my name is Robert McCullough. I've been working out here in Shell Martinez refinery for about 13 years, 12 years as a contractor, and 1 year as an operator in OpSyn.
Do you live in Martinez as well?
No, I do not. I live in Antioch.
So Martinez has done Shell has done really some cool things for the community, and what's
Yeah.
something you're involved in one of those activities.
Okay, so one thing I was involved in was I volunteered for the fishing for the special needs kids in Contra Loma, and it was a great time. We didn't catch that many fish, unfortunately, but it was really good to get the kids out there. We played games with them. We had food, and it was just a great time.
Is that an annual thing, or was it a one-time?
You know what? I don't know if it's annual, but I know Shell does a lot of volunteering, a lot of good things for the community.
What made you think about getting into Shell? Did you have somebody working here, or?
Yeah, I had an uncle that worked here, and it always grabbed my attention. And I don't know why I didn't do it earlier, but I was already working inside as a contractor. But yeah, I just decided last year to try and take the test, and here I am today.
And here you are.
Yep.
Well,
So-
thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, Richard Youngman here again. I was a machinist out at LOP I guess out of Zone 1 shop. This happened on more than one occasion where a deer would come into one of the zone shops. Usually this would take place in the evening. Deer would come in, and I remember this one day in particular that one of the other employees, he was a pipe fitter, they lovingly called him Red and other things. But there was a strange encounter with a deer and this pipe fitter in the shop. And I suppose it was quite a shock for both of them, because the deer, just momentarily looking at the pipe fitter, decided that he should turn and run, but his feet he lost all kinds of traction. So there's all kinds of racket with that deer trying to get traction and turn around and run out. And so that was an interesting encounter out there at LOP. It was a number of years ago, 20, 25 years ago, I imagine.
So those shops must have been sort of quiet, because you think a deer might be fearful of I'm thinking of a big noisy.
Right, that's probably, that lends itself to the hours. It was probably late in the afternoon. It could have been an overtime experience also. There wouldn't have been a lot of activity in the shop, and so it's relatively quiet. And the deer getting through the units out there with no confrontation, he probably felt pretty safe with the lack of activity and just wandered right into the shop. He probably smelled some of that fine food that a lot of the fitters and the machinists would cook up in the evening, for their fare. So that's all I have.
Hello, I'm Lloyd Lawson. I am the operations specialist for the Flexi Coker in Operation Central, and I've been with it since we first started it up. I'm an original startup team member. And what I would like to talk about is the evolution of safety. When we first started it up, we have a safety program and culture that we thought we were pretty safe at the time. And you know, we had made many milestones of million man hours, and when I look back on my career now, which has been 33 years, that back in the day, we were doing some things that were completely different than what we're doing now. Some of the things that we were doing, climbing up in the pipe rows, and it was an everyday occurrence when we were starting up the plant to be up in the pipe row without harnesses and just climbing around, and the minor injuries that we had, you know, that was just part of the job and really didn't get reported until, you know, if you got seriously hurt. Some of the other things that we used to do is we'd take some of the process and just let it blow to the atmosphere. If we had a problem with a specific unit, we would take and maybe discharge it to the sewer to try to get rid of it and let effluent treatment know that, hey, it was coming. But the culture has really evolved in my eyes, and when I think about those days in the past, it was what I tell people, it's the wild, wild west days. But like I said, back then we didn't think nothing of it, but now that we have evolved into a safer culture, that now we know better. When we used to have emergencies in the plant, which fortunately were not as often, and nowadays they are less and less, because we know what caused some of our big problems in the plant: corrosion under insulation, dead leg corrosion, those kind of events. We've as an industry have gotten better about knowing and understanding those and preventing those types of incidents from occurring. But when we would have those problems in the past, we would be very quick to run in to try to save the day and isolate the piece of equipment that might be leaking. And now we practice safe distance and until we actually have a really good game plan on how we're going to get in there and safely isolate it. So for me, that's the big evolution in my career is just the safety culture, and I'm proud of my career and proud of what this company has done.
And you're part of that huge part of that safety culture. You know,
Yes.
Thank you for your contribution. As a layperson, I feel much safer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Phil Simmons. I live right down the street from the Alumni Museum here. It's always been a very interesting place to pass by, and always had kind of interest in it. My wife, she was always interested in kind of the history of Martinez, and Shell's a big part of that. She got involved with the Alumni Museum a few months back and did a few paintings for them, old signs up on the hill. You can see them if you were to go up to the Alumni Museum. They're on the side of the building.
Of the alumni.
Yes, yes. Very old, maybe 1940s, 1950s signs that she reproduced. My wife's an artist, as you can tell. And you know, it's just always been kind of an interesting thing, Shell. I grew up in Pleasant Hill, moved to Martinez about 10 years ago. It's just, you know, the refinery's always been quite interesting to me because it's like a city in a city. All the lights at night, it's just very kind of, I don't know, beautiful is the way to look at it, but you know, it's just neat to see, you know, a little city there. I know it's not good when the flares go off, but it's always been kind of neat to see the flares burning. Yeah, I just
They have quite a safety culture here, so,
yes.
you know.
Yeah, and safety's first, you know, that's what we're always looking for. I've never not felt safe, you know, here, and I really appreciate Shell what they do for the community and everything around here. So I just want to thank you for that.
And what is your job? What do you do?
I work for San Quentin State Prison. So I'm an employee. I do maintenance on the prison. I've been doing that for 22 years. So, I'm a state employee, and that's basically it.
So Martinez resident, and then your wife has painted these
Murals, yes.
murals on the...
Yeah, she got hooked up with the alumni fellas, and, it's really kind of neat what she's done, So, and yeah, it's just always been a good place.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Harlan Bailey. I was born in Port Chicago. My family's lived here in Martinez since 1961. I remember driving down here from Port Chicago on that highway. All the oil used to leak out of the pipelines. You could smell H2S, you could smell fuels and diesel. In fact, you could see it laying in those ditches there alongside the highway over there by the old Makoko sign. Something you don't see anymore is those kind of smells and those puddles of oil and stuff laying by the side of the road. My uncles grew up during the Great Depression. They used to come over here and stand by the contractor's gate for jobs, which were kind of few and far between. My Uncle Lewis always liked to tell the story about how a man would get a job and he'd fling his cigarette butt into the crowd and 4 or 5 guys would jump on it. It might just be apocryphal, I don't know if it really happened. That was a favorite story of his in the Depression days of going to the contractor's gate. You had a job at Shell, you had a pretty good job, either Shell or Avon. I'm a fisherman myself. I suppose at one time or another we burned some shell of fuel in our boats. I don't know. Tell you one thing, it's easier to go fishing in a boat with an engine in it than it is with a boat with a sail. Well, that cuts all the wussies out of the herd real fast if you don't have a motor in the boat.
Are you commercial fishermen or just enjoyment or?
Commercial. I fished 44 years now in Bristol Bay, Alaska, out of Naknek. In fact, they did use sailboats for fishing vessels up there, for gilded vessels until 1951. There's a lot of reasons for that. Some of them are political, some of them have to do with what they used to consider conservation of the resource at the time. There used to be a sizable contingent from this community that fished there. There used to be a big company, headquarters over in San Francisco, called Alaska Packers Association, APA. They hired groups from Monterey, Martinez, Pittsburgh, San Francisco, pretty much all Italian, because that was the ethnicity of the communities that lived in those places. And those were the people who knew how to do that kind of work, how to build fishing gear and how to catch those kind of fish. And there was a big community of them here in Martinez. Most of them from the same village in Sicily, Isola Femina. We had a little branch of Bank of America on the corner in those days. It was called Bank of Italy.
On Main. It's now, they're now closed, but.
Well, and now I think it's U.S. Bank now. It's on the corner of, what's the street that the News Gazette is on?
Not Ferry, no.
No, it runs head on into the park there, into the parking lot, into the creek at Starbucks. Is that Estudillo Street?
Possibly.
Anyway, that bank on the corner was originally the Bank of Italy. And all those Italians would bring their pay. There might have been 100 men that lived in that community. You're talking in the days when this town had 5,000 people in it or less. So this was a sizable economic unit. They would bring these little fat checks back to Martinez from Alaska and go to that bank and deposit them. And not only were they an economic component, but they were a social component and I don't know.
Talking about the fishing company, the APA, or the?
I'm talking about that. Those people who used to live here, who used to go fishing. Anyway, there's only 2 or 3 left now. They're all gone. Leonard Giano, whose father Pietro is on that monument in the marina, lives in Green Valley now, but let's consider him one of them because his father is on that monument, and Leonard's had a career up there, commercial fishing. These are the same people with the same names going to the same fishing grounds or the same place to go fishing. It's just that when they started out, they went on sailing ships. APA had a fleet of sailing ships. They kept in Alameda. Balclutha was one of those ships. So was the Star of India. San Diego was one of those ships. They were known as the Star Fleet because that's what they changed the name of the ships to. They have the Star of Italy, the Star of Finland, the Star of Alaska, which was the Balclutha. Balclutha was the original name when it was launched. And now everybody gets on an airplane and goes up there, you know. There's only 3 of us left.
So you still do fish
Oh,
up
yeah.
there, up going to Alaska, or?
Yeah, I'm leaving on the 28th of May. I'm leaving. Ronnie Newgart's leaving. Ronnie's the last one related to anybody on that monument. He's going to go fishing in Alaska. This year will probably be his last year. So after this year, that whole lifestyle, every vestige of it will be dead and gone. There won't be anybody from Martinez going up there to Gilnet for salmon. No Italian speakers. Nobody from Martinez. That's the end of it. That's what I came here to tell you today. That's the end of your fisherman community. This is the last year. For over 130 years they've been doing this. This is the last year.
That's unfortunate. That's very unfortunate.
I suppose it is. Some of them went on to do other things, you know. Well, there's a chantry that was the CEO of Harris. There's a Costanza that has a law office down here, you know. That's all I have today.
Well, thank you, Harlan.